The girl's first blind date with a rich second-generation heir, Lee Min-soo, starts with a plan. In an attempt to ruin the date on behalf of her best friend, the girl, Ming-shi, orders a bizarre dish, heavy-flavored large intestine sashimi. She naively believes this will drive the rich heir away. Unexpectedly, he eats the dish with relish, leaving Ming-shi tongue-tied. We learn that Ming-shi is actually on a blind date for her best friend, who is running away from marriage. The goal is to make the date go horribly wrong. What Ming-shi doesn't know, however, is that Min-soo is already interested in her. They had a car accident on the way to the blind date, and Min-soo was about to help when Ming-shi, a nurse, quickly stepped in. She ripped off her scarf to bandage a patient's wound, a scene that made a deep impression on him. Despite this, he has to continue with the blind date because it's an order from his father. After arriving at the cafe, Min-soo's mind is still focused on Ming-shi. He realizes the girl he had an instant connection with is his blind date. He feels like the happiest man in the world. Ming-shi, however, is not giving up. Seeing her first plan fail, she takes Min-soo to a very messy restaurant. The dishes are unwashed, there are crawling cockroaches on the table, and the waiter's hand goes directly into the soup. Min-soo, a gentleman, can't help but frown. Ming-shi secretly rejoices, thinking she has finally disgusted him. But as she gets complacent, Min-soo takes a big gulp of his meal, showing he is not a typical rich boy. Ming-shi starts to feel sorry for this cheerful man. With her second plan a bust, Ming-shi resorts to the last trick her best friend taught her, pretending to be a gold digger. She proudly turns and leaves, expecting Min-soo to follow. She doesn't realize he has noticed her ill-fitting high heels. At a luxury store, she pretends to have forgotten her wallet and, in a green tea tone, begs him to pay for her. The naive Min-soo agrees. Frustrated that he still hasn't taken the bait, she picks up an expensive bag. She is shocked when she sees the price, realizing it costs 3 months' salary. When the salesperson asks her to try it on, she awkwardly lies, claiming she has the same one at home. She trips over her shoes, and Min-soo can't help but laugh. In the end, she chooses the least valuable item, a passport holder, and her plan fails yet again. Ming-shi gets into a taxi to say goodbye, but Min-soo gets in with her, insisting on driving her home to ensure she gets there safely. With no other choice, Ming-shi directs him to her best friend Xulian's house. Before parting ways, Min-soo gives Ming-shi a gift, saying she'll need it for their next meeting. He also takes the opportunity to set up their next date. Just then, Xulian's brother returns home, and to prevent her secret from being revealed, Ming-shi quickly ushers Min-soo away. Seeing Ming-shi chatting with a handsome man, Min-soo becomes visibly jealous. Later, Ming-shi complains to Xulian about Min-soo, saying he's not an ordinary rich man, and seems to see through all her tricks. Xulian opens the gift from Min-soo, revealing a pair of small leather shoes that fit Ming-shi perfectly. After returning home, Ming-shi carefully opens the shoebox. She feels unworthy of the handsome and cheerful Min-soo, so she suppresses her feelings for him. The next day, Min-soo spots Ming-shi on the street. She doesn't respond to his calls, so he chases her across the road, unaware that Xulian isn't even her name. Ming-shi, distracted while looking for bus fare, doesn't notice a speeding motorcycle. Min-soo pulls her into his arms, saving her from a disaster. She finally realizes the person who saved her is him, and, suspecting he's following her, asks him about it. He laughs and says it was just a coincidence. He's happy to see her dressed plainly, finally seeing her true self. When he learns she doesn't have bus fare, he gives her a handful of coins. The two go on a date to a Western restaurant, but Ming-shi, who comes from a humble background, is unfamiliar with the cutlery. Min-soo, noticing her discomfort, discreetly asks the waiter which fork to use, putting her at ease. During the dinner, a male colleague of Ming-shi's arrives. He ridicules Ming-shi, calling her a gold digger who only wants to marry a rich man. He is unaware that Min-soo is right there. Min-soo stands up, gracefully pours water on the man's head, and throws down money for a cleaning fee, telling him to wash his dirty mouth. Ming-shi, mortified, flees the restaurant but trips and twists her ankle. Min-soo insists on carrying her, but she stubbornly says she can walk. Without a word, he picks her up and carries her like a princess. Fearing her identity will be revealed, Ming-shi refuses to go to a hospital, so he carefully treats her ankle on the street. Under the cherry blossoms, Ming-shi feels a new affection for him. She asks if he is only on this blind date because of his prominent family, but he assures her he only cares about her, not her social status. The little trick between Ming-shi and her best friend is finally revealed when Min-soo visits Xulian's home. He sees both women and instantly realizes he's been deceived. Ming-shi is embarrassed and wants to leave, but Min-soo stays for dinner. He's more concerned with the way Xulian's brother places a hand on Ming-shi's shoulder than with the lie. He playfully jokes with everyone at the table. Later, Xulian explains to him that Ming-shi only went on the date to reject him, and has no feelings for him. Min-soo doesn't believe this. While looking at a photo album, he can't help but trace Ming-shi's face with his finger, his smile betraying his true feelings. Min-soo approaches Ming-shi when no one is looking. He gives her a note, and she finds his true address on it. She goes to his home, a beautiful mansion, and apologizes for deceiving him. Min-soo reveals that he knew the truth all along. He chose to pretend he didn't because if the lie was exposed, he wouldn't have a reason to see her. Ming-shi confesses her real identity, admitting she's not the daughter of a wealthy family but a simple emergency room nurse. Min-soo is not deterred. He is confident that Ming-shi has feelings for him despite their difference in social status. The next day, Min-soo finds Xiaolian at a student protest. He wants her to confess the truth to their parents so they can stop the arranged marriage. However, an incident occurs and Xiaolian suffers a minor concussion. Min-soo rushes her to the hospital and Ming-shi, seeing them fighting, feels a pang of jealousy. She knows the prince should be with the princess and she, Cinderella, would only drag him down. Later that day, Min-soo is waiting for Ming-shi after work and happily suggests they get dinner, but she's not in the mood. She confesses that she only went on the blind date to get money for plane tickets, crushing his heart. He humbly suggests he can wait until she returns home, but she tells him to stop. Ming-shi believes her poor background makes her unworthy of him, and she must cut ties now. As he watches her walk away, his heart breaks. He remembers his promise to sing a song for her, but the song is left unsung, and their love is cut short. Heartbroken, he asks a friend for advice. The friend suggests giving up now to avoid a lifetime of misery, which only makes him feel worse. Sometime later, at Xiaolian's new pharmaceutical company opening, Min-soo and his father are guests. Ming-shi also attends. Min-soo's father notices his son's gaze fixed on Ming-shi. To ease the awkwardness, Ming-shi goes to make coffee. Two guests mistake her for a waiter and ask for coffee with less sugar. They then gossip about Min-soo, saying he was almost picked up by a girl like her. Ming-shi, her face cold, adds extra sugar to their coffee and gives them a spicy, fried soup instead of what they ordered. Seeing her being harassed, Min-soo wants to intervene, but realizes it will only make her more uncomfortable. He pulls Xiaolian aside and insists she confess all her lies to their parents immediately. He tells her he is no longer her fiancé and is ready to face Ming-shi alone. He finds the house Ming-shi rents and, under the pretense of tutoring the landlord's daughter, finds a way to get closer to her. He even pretends to be drunk to stay overnight. Unable to sleep, he goes to the yard to play his guitar. Ming-shi, who is sleeping, hears the music and goes outside. She sees him holding the guitar, the same one he promised to write a song for her with. His soft hums stir her heart. Despite her attempts to suppress her feelings, she can't deny the color he has brought to her life. The next day, Min-soo learns Ming-shi is on vacation and wants to go on a date with her. However, her mother calls and asks her to take her brothers out, turning their two-person date into a family affair. The two brothers, who have never gotten along, stare awkwardly at each other across the dinner table. They ordered fried noodles and sweet and sour meat. Lu Wushu noted that the Malamog construction site seemed to have been completely cleared. He thought it was good. The handling of the situation was unsmooth, and Jungtai's question immediately scared them. Shitai wondered if kids were so precocious these days. Looking at Ming-shi, Shitai had to explain it was a friendship. Afterward, they went to the amusement park and happily got on a carousel, but Shitai, looking weary, could only obediently carry his bag and watch them play. Their long-awaited two-person world was interrupted by these two little ones. At the same time, Xiaolian was unfortunately arrested and imprisoned for covering up a protesting senior. The interrogator was Shitai's father, her future public. He tried to persuade Xiaolian not to participate in the revolution again and to marry Shitai as soon as possible. Xiaolian, whose defiance was against the bone, actually threw soup directly on Shitai's father. Ruthlessly, he not only endured Xiaolian's rudeness, but also informed her to prepare for the engagement ceremony. Finally, Xiaolian was taken home by her father, who was shocked. He explained that it was too late to regret the marriage because their family business had already accepted help from Shitai's father. Regretting the marriage now would only anger him. Xiaolian suddenly felt a headache, torn between her lifelong principles and the rise and fall of her family's business, which depended on her father and brother. In the evening, after Shitai dropped Ming-shi off, he didn't want to part with her. Shitai's heart was pounding like a deer, and he was looking forward to tomorrow. He didn't know that his father had been secretly investigating his relationship with Ming-shi for a long time. He would never allow his son nor his family to get involved with a poor Cinderella. A cornered, Xiaolian found Shitai, hoping he could pretend to be a couple with her in front of both parents, but he rejected her. Xiaolian was completely panicked, unsure how to clean up the mess. In the evening, Shitai specially bought flowers, looking forward to tomorrow with joy, hoping for a response to his confession from last night. Unexpectedly, Mingxi's answer completely broke his heart. Shitai couldn't believe Mingxi would brutally push him towards others. He was disappointed and angry, asking Mingxi why she did this. It turned out that Xiulian, feeling cornered, had asked Mingxi to help convince Shitai. 10 years of friendship wouldn't allow Mingxi to watch Xiulian's family be destroyed. So, she had to beg Shitai to agree to the engagement. Shitai's love changed in an instant. The next day, Shitai learned through Mingxi's landlord that she went to apply for a passport with Xiulian's brother today. Shitai was very angry. Although he and Xiulian's brother hadn't met for a few years, according to a man's intuition, he knew Xiulian's brother must have liked Mingxi. A jealous Shitai was furious. He questioned Mingxi, asking why she didn't ask him to apply for a passport with her. Shitai's suppressed emotions completely broke out, and the two got into a heated argument. Shitai couldn't understand why Mingxi preferred to pretend to be a good person and have him engaged to Xiulian instead of being brave enough to seize their love. The time they could spend together was pitiful, as Mingxi was going abroad to settle in June and would never come back. Shitai felt wronged and on the verge of tears. It seemed he had been trying to chase Mingxi all this time, but now he was tired. They applied for something in their comment section. See you again. It was at the engagement ceremony of Shitai and Xiulian. Mingxi wanted Shitai, dressed up, to try to restrain his emotions and not say a word. He ended the engagement party in despair, ready to go home, but he met Shitai. Shitai saw the shoes on Mingxi's feet and suddenly felt a pang. It was the pair he had given to Mingxi on their first date. Shitai suddenly relented. Who is Ken wearing? And you? Shitai asked. This was the first time Mingxi had faced her heart. Her confession made Shitai's eyes turn red. Although the confession came a little late, Shitai didn't care. He just wanted to hurry up and be with Mingxi. He took Mingxi's hand firmly, escaping the engagement ceremony with her. The two were immersed in the joy of happiness, completely unaware that a storm was coming. They were Huang Shitai, who asked Mingxi for earrings, and Mingxi, who took Shitai's tie. From then on, the two would often get together on dates, wanting to spend this precious May together. They went to the record store and the bakery together, having dinner like a normal couple. Shitai couldn't wait to make the cream that all the stars liked, and all the bread was sold out. The star was speechless by this scene and simply put it back. Even when they drank milk, they had to synchronize. Mingxi broke the bread in half and gave it to Shitai. The spoiled Shitai opened his mouth wide, wanting Mingxi to feed him. Fearing attracting attention, a shy Mingxi quickly covered Shitai's mouth. The two childishly smeared cream on each other for fun. When Mingxi came to the bookstore, she thought of Shitai and was so happy. She could see him when she turned around. The feeling of a loved one made her feel very satisfied and at ease. They each wrote down their wishes to be fulfilled before Mingxi went abroad tomorrow evening. Looking at Shitai in front of her, Mingxi suddenly felt a little more melancholy in her heart, because she was going to study abroad in a month, and her love with Shitai was doomed to have no future. The party was over, and Shitai took Mingxi home, but he was lost along the way. Ordinary people are gone. We are not afraid of you. No one believes you are immoral. Where was the aisle? My kiss made it for us. After listening, Mingxi stood on tiptoe to give him comfort. The two sweet people didn't know yet that danger was approaching. After parting with Shitai, Mingxi, going home alone, was ambushed by a group of strangers. The next day, Huang Shitai found out that Mingxi was missing, and Mingxi, who usually wouldn't even take half a day off, was absent without reason. He rushed to report the crime, but the disappearance time was too short to file a case. Recalling that Mingxi said she was going back to her hometown recently, Shitai decided to try his luck there. Coincidentally, on his way, Shitai met a lost old man. He sent the old man home and found out that this was Mingxi's hometown. The promising young doctor was the daughter's boyfriend. Mingxi's parents were more and more pleased with him and warmly entertained him for dinner. But he didn't wait until Mingxi came home after dinner. He was anxious and ready to go back to the city. On the way, he bumped into a haggard Mingxi. There was a reason why Mingxi was so indifferent. The people who ambushed Mingxi last night were Huang Shitai's father, a man with power in both black and white. He pulled out a date photo of his son and Mingxi, threatening Mingxi to stay away from his son. He even used improper means, suspending Mingxi's eligibility to go abroad. What's even scarier is that if Mingxi didn't leave, Huang Shitai's command was just the beginning, definitely not the end. After parting during the day, Shitai had been worried about the emotionally abnormal Mingxi. He came to find Mingxi to hear the cruel truth. Shitai learned that his father was the culprit. He cares little for his son's feelings, only for the advantageous marriage he can secure. Despite his son's desperate pleas, the father remains unyielding, prioritizing his own benefits above all else. This cold demeanor sets a tense tone, highlighting the deep rift in their relationship. To protect Mingxi from her father's constant harassment, Hitai reluctantly agrees to go to Seoul with Su Yun. However, Su-yun, unable to bear Hetai's emotional distress, encourages him to return to Gwangju to find Mingxi. It's revealed that Mingxi had chosen to leave voluntarily, not out of fear for her own life, but to spare Western Pacific from being dragged into her dark circumstances. Meanwhile, Mingxi struggles with Hetai's absence, constantly in a daze and sobbing at the mention of his name. She believes their paths have diverged permanently. Yet fate intervenes when she encounters Hetai again, who has bravely returned for her. Against all odds, they finally reunite, determined to forge a future together. Their plan to elope is tragically interrupted when they encounter Korean soldiers apprehending college students. Mistaken for marchers, they are attacked. When a soldier strikes Mingxi, Hetai intervenes, only to be choked. Mingxi, a nurse, bravely retaliates with an attack, then takes Hetai to the hospital for treatment, temporarily halting their escape. The situation in Gwangju rapidly deteriorates as soldiers, under the guise of maintaining order, begin assaulting civilians, overwhelming the hospital with wounded. Mingxi, compelled by her medical oath, returns to treating patients, a decision that increases their risk and draws the ire of those trying to escape. Despite this, Hetai, a medical student himself, joins her in treating the wounded. As night falls, Mingxi's father arrives, worried about his children amidst the escalating chaos. While Hetai assists a doctor in treating the wounded, they are struck by a car. Hetai awakens, scarred and bound in a secret room at home, a punishment orchestrated by his arrogant father for running away with Mingxi. Devastated by the news of Hetai's capture, Mingxi blames herself, feeling helpless. On the other side, unable to persuade Mingxi's father, her own father decides to flee Gwangju with his son, only to encounter soldiers on the road. They hide, and to save his son, Mingxi's father bravely confronts the soldiers. Meanwhile, Zhengtai, Hetai's half-brother, discovers Hetai's captivity and begs his mother for help. His stepmother, weary of the violent and cold-blooded man she married, decides to divorce him and before leaving, frees Hetai. Despite his injuries, Hetai immediately seeks out Mingxi, who, exhausted, initially believes she is hallucinating until their touch confirms his presence. Having experienced the pain of loss, Mingxi resolves to marry Hetai. In an empty church, they exchange vows, becoming husband and wife. However, their brief happiness is shattered by the tragic news of Mingxi's father's death, who sacrificed himself to protect his son. While sorting through her father's belongings, Mingxi discovers the living expenses she had sent home, meticulously saved by him for her studies abroad, a heartbreaking revelation. Simultaneously, Huang Shitai's father, enraged by Hetai and Mingxi's renewed connection, secretly orders subordinates to eliminate Mingxi amidst the chaos. Zhengtai overhears the sinister plot. Haunted by Mingxi's kindness, Zhengtai feels compelled to act. A guard, delivering a fabricated note from Hetai, lures Mingxi to a dangerous location where an assassin awaits. Zhengtai intervenes, preventing the attack but sustaining a gunshot wound to the leg during the struggle. Parents rush to the scene, and Zhengtai's mother, witnessing her husband's viciousness, is utterly disillusioned. The belated Hetai rushes his injured brother to the hospital. A heartbroken Zhengtai rejects his father's hand, leaving the father feeling as if he has lost everything. Pearl, Mingxi's younger sister, awakening to the chaos, decides to go home. Learning of Pearl's disappearance, Hetai and Mingxi venture into the woods to find her, agreeing to separate and meet back at a designated spot. Hetai entrusts Mingxi with his father's pocket watch, unknowingly a symbol of their impending separation. Pearl, fleeing, hears gunshots and is soon joined by Mingxi. Hetai, finding his path blocked, is captured by patrolling soldiers. Mingxi, seeing the approaching soldiers, urges Pearl to escape to their hometown, promising to follow. Pearl, having just lost her father, is distraught at the thought of losing her sister. Realizing escape together is impossible, Mingxi compels Pearl to flee while she diverts the soldiers. Pearl gives Mingxi the pocket watch and escapes as Mingxi prepares to hold off the soldiers. A soldier spots Pearl, aims his gun, but Mingxi selflessly blocks the shot, sacrificing herself for her sister. The soldier, who was previously treated by Mingxi, is stunned. Hetai, mistaken for a Seoul National University student and targeted for execution, is saved when another soldier recognizes him and verifies his identity. Hetai escapes, but Mingxi, having saved her brother, is not so fortunate. The soldier who saved Pearl leaves the pocket watch and a note in Mingxi's hand before departing, burdened by guilt. In her final moments, Mingxi, relieved that her brother is safe, passes away, unwilling to leave Hetai. After the riots subside, Hetai frantically searches for Mingxi, but to no avail. He attempts to take his own life, but is washed ashore by waves. 40 years later, a grown Pearl visits him, bringing a note found in Mingxi's belongings, urging Hetai not to die for love. Hetai, still infatuated, has remained unmarried, knowing his heart belongs only to Mingxi, whose memory, like sunlight on stars, continues to illuminate his life until his final breath.